A question we're often asked is, where do we go dog sledding in Massachusetts? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to show you 3 trails that we use that are right nearby our house. Hello, welcome to another episode of Massachusetts. I'm your host, Bob Tremblay. Well, here we are in late November in north central Massachusetts, and while we've had a beautiful autumn, we haven't had any snow yet. So we've still been running the dogs regularly, but always with the bike, so we're still dry land mushing. So what I've done is I've put together this video I realize I've never really shared many of the trails that I go to. And so when I'm looking for a trail to take my dogs out with the bike or with the sled, I look for trails that are really off the beaten path. I don't like to take them on bike trails that are paved or where there's a whole lot of walkers or joggers. I really like to go out and be out there alone with my dogs. I don't like the distractions of other people, and really my motivation is to be out in the wilderness with my dogs. So I look for trails that are off the beaten path. So in today's episode, I share 3 of those trails that are really 10 to 12 minutes from my house. There are a lot of trail opportunities to run dogs in Massachusetts with sled and with bike. And so I think I'm going to start sharing some of those places that I go. So in today's episode, I share 3 of my favorite nearby trails, so stay tuned. Well, this video is going to be a little bit longer than my usual ones. It's been so long since we've posted, so they've kind of piled up. But anyway, these are 3 different trails that are really off the beaten path where I run the dogs. In these videos, we're all dry land mushing and going with the bike. But every one of these trails I also use with the sled. So this one here, this is in the OTTER River State Forest. This is right near Lake Denison. And this part here is an elevated railroad grade that is really very infrequently used, actually parallels the old grade. Right here we ran into some other bikers who are out with an unleashed dog. Fortunately they got their dog under control and we were able to pass by really without issue. I was pleased with how well the dogs passed by here. The thing about this railroad grade is that it's really scenic, but then it does kind of leave the old grade and then it becomes really pretty rough. It's a dirt bike trail. And so there's a lot of up and down. You can see all the routes here that we're going over. And there's actually some hills that are so steep, both up and down, that most people will want to get off their bike and walk with the dogs. Sometimes, depending how they're running, sometimes I ride down some of the steeper trails with them. Here, we actually take a G-turn, and we're going to cross the active railroad track. And so I always walk the bikes here. Obviously the rocks are pretty rough on the dog's feet and we've got to walk the bike across the tracks. Once we get across, we're back onto some dirt bike trails. Again, these are all unmarked, and so you really kind of have to scout them out in advance, but if you put the time in, the dogs love running on trails like this, as you can see. And so here we are kind of heading on down. This brings us back to Baldwinville, which is a village of Templeton, the town where we live. So this is a run that we do frequently in the fall. This is also in Templeton. This is the Red Oak Trail in the Templeton State Forest. What's really cool about this area is that there is a central parking area, and then from there you have a number of really quality trails that kind of spider off. And so what I usually will do is we'll go up and we'll park in the main area, and then we'll just kind of run some of these diverse trails, go out and back and come back to the parking area and then do another trail. The dogs really like these. They're single track. This is very popular with mountain bikers. And actually right here you're going to see is that on the right hand side there's a footpath I hadn't scouted before, and so you're going to see I'm going to give the dogs a G-turn. And we actually do some exploring to see where this side trail goes. It's coming up, and I'll be giving you a G command in a minute. This is another set of trails that are really well marked on the map. The trails themselves are really well marked. There's a lot of signage, but it's the kind of place that you're going to want to go out. Here we get the G-turn. There we go. And so this is an unmarked trail. So this is a single track footpath. Dogs love stuff like this. So I realize a lot of people aren't comfortable riding their bikes on trails like this, and admittedly I'm going down this blind. I don't know what we're going into, but this is the kind of stuff I like doing with dogs. I don't like going out where I'm likely to run into other people. And this little section right here kind of epitomizes that, and you can see how much the dogs love it. Again, very windy and narrow. For most people, I would encourage you to probably go out and scout with your bike without your dogs, or maybe even do a hike. You can see this trail kind of goes down to nothing, and what we actually come down to is, it turns out there's actually a campsite, and so people either camp out there to hunt or to fish, or maybe just to spend the night in the woods. Fortunately, it's not a really very dirty area. You'll see we're just about to reach it. Really very windy. Dogs do a great job kind of leading me around the worst of the stuff. Even lead me right between the logs, the broken ends of the log. And here's the campsite that we came down to. A little fire circle. And not much else. So I give the dogs the command to head on back. I let them inspect a little bit. And then let's go. And we're off. And we're going back to some of the main trails. So this will bring us back to where we were, and then you'll see some of the other trails. That most of what I have here in this video is the Red Oak Trail, but there are a number of other trails out here in this state forest. Here we are back on the main part of the Red Oak Trail. Dogs love this area. They just haul down it. There are parts of this trail that are very, very rocky, and again, requires a good trail bike and good confidence on your bike, and also good dogs who know how to kind of slow down when things are a little bit rougher. But right here, they're just loving the leaves. They're loving the open trail. They get really bored running on cart paths.
Yes. Good dogs.
Looking forward to actually getting them on some snow. I really like how the dogs are both really kind of pulling equally today. They're really kind of keeping pace themselves. As always, you'll see Shiva on the right really is the more athletic of the two dogs. You see how she really moves so efficiently. Really, she doesn't have a whole lot of the bouncing around that Bandit has. But what Bandit might lack in physical ability, he makes up for in his enthusiasm. So here we are at the end. It actually hits some private land. There's a no trespassing sign there. So I'm going to get the dogs turned around, and we'll double back. And as we double back, you're going to see really kind of how rocky this trail is. I like letting the dogs stand out for a little bit. I like that they stand taut at their lines and they turn around when I tell them to. There's one of the signs, so you'll see that this area, the trails really are very, very well marked, not only with mileages and with trail names, but also with little maps. So this is an area that really has a ton of potential for exploring, hiking, biking, and of course, dog mushing. Take a look at how rocky it is here, though. So this is kind of, not for your casual biker, especially when you're being pulled by dogs. Dogs do a great job with it, though. And so now we'll be heading back about a mile, back to where the car is parked. So remember, the car here, this is sort of like the car is like in the center of this whole network of trails. And so here we are kind of doubling back. You can see that it kind of opens up, and we'll be at our vehicle before very long. Usually when I take the dogs out, whether we're sledding or biking, we usually go out for an hour to sometimes an hour and a half. And our runs, including our stops, because I do stop them frequently for water, we usually do 6 to 8 miles on any given run. which I think is pretty good for 2 dogs. And here we are coming down. Little turn to the car. You will see the car in a minute. Really working on getting the dogs to go past trailheads. You'll see a lot of times when a trail starts, there's a lot of scents. I like the fact they go past these boulders. There's our car. This is the central parking area. This is off HUBBARDSTON Road between Templeton and HUBBARDSTON. This trailhead, it is state land. It's a dirt trail or dirt road that brings you up to here. And here's one of the other trails that spiders off. It's very easy to pass, so you have to keep a very sharp eye to pick out this parking spot. And here we are going down another one of these spider trails. Again, really nice single track stuff, really well graded, really well marked. Easy enough for biking, but also it's interesting enough for dogs to really like running and exploring. As always, it's very important to have water for the dogs, and that's another reason I really like this trail. I let them drink a little bit. They think that we're going to continue on, and you'll see these are really well maintained trails. Here's a great bridge that goes over the brook, but we're going to turn around and go back to the car. So I get them to turn around, and we start heading back. Come on, guys. And here we are back to the car. So this is really neat. You can park in one place and actually go on 4 or 5 different trails from one parking area. So then our next spot, so this is in the Birch Hill Wildlife Management Area. I call this the Sand Dunes of Templeton. This is an area that I've been exploring by hiking and hiking with the dogs for quite a while, but it's hard to find an easy way to get into the sand dunes, and I've been trying to find that for a while. So this is right off of Route 202, just south of Baldwinville, heading towards Royalston, really. And there's a pull-off there that's often used by snowmobiles, and the pull-off is really pretty trashy. And so this trail is unmarked, but it's used by a lot of dirt bikes and four-wheelers. It's a pretty rough trail. And so you can see as we're going along here, there's a lot of rocks, a lot of roots, a lot of really uneven terrain, really rutted out areas that are flooded. And so this is another one that I would encourage you to go out and ride it on your bike first. But the payoff here is that it does bring you to the sand dunes. So here we are, kind of coming through. We're about to leave the four-wheeler trail, and we get onto this gravel road that leads to the sand pits. And so this is the second time I've taken the dogs out there. They really like it. I like taking them here because it's a great practice for giving them commands, similar to when we're crossing open lakes. The trail is less obvious than a single-track forest trail, and so for them to kind of find the route when it's wide open, I think is really good practice for them to just listen to my commands. And here are the dunes themselves. In parts, this sand is very, very deep. You can take a look at their tracks as they run in it. This is very soft sand. It's very much like dune sand at the beach, at the Cape or something. And you can see it's wide open. So this is a cool area to run the dogs. I'm looking forward to the winter and getting them out there in the winter now that I've actually found a way to get into there. And I'm really excited how the dogs like this kind of open terrain. You see, it really does excite them. It's tough stuff on the bike. You know, you really do need fat tires to get through this soft sand. In parts here, it was kind of a cold day, and there were parts of the sand that were frozen that really kind of gave good traction for them. But a really great run. Here we are going back down the gravel road to take our return. There we go, give them a G-turn. And we're back onto that original four-wheeler trail. And again, just kind of take a look here at really kind of how rugged this is. It does take some pretty sharp bike riding. But that's why there's nobody there, and that's why I like it. Here we are kind of hauling along. Dog's doing a great job. I'm going to show you in a minute. There is another river here. That's a great place to let the dogs drink. It's coming up, kind of heading downhill. I don't know if you can tell, but when I shot this part, my GoPro was nestled inside of its harness. It actually blocked the microphone, so I didn't capture any audio on this run. So it's one of the reasons I'm doing a voiceover here. But again, this is a new trail to us. This is only the second time I've run it with the dogs. I haven't done it in the snow yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. This water source here for them to drink is excellent. And just look how clear that is. Dogs love it. And in a minute, once they kind of have hydrated up, I'll give them the go-ahead. Ready? And we'll go ahead. And we're off. And so this next part, this is as we return to the car. I want you to really see, look at how rocky this is. So in this part, I did ride down it, but I'm walking the bike up it. You can kind of see, I wouldn't want the dogs pulling me up all those cobblestones. And like I said, that's Route 202. We're right next to Route 202. But kind of the sad thing here is that this pull-off, there really is a lot of trash, which is kind of, I call it the trash trailhead. But it's a great access to get to those sand dunes. And once you go past the sand dunes, there's a ton more trails too. So that's 3 of our lesser known trails that I run the dogs on.
Whoa, stand.
Here's our outro.
Well, thanks for watching all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed those videos. They're great trails to get on. So anyway, we're waiting for snow. We'll be posting more videos soon. Check out the ones that we already have on our channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please like the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the trail.